Hi everyone, we are from Queensland University of Technology and we're very happy to present to you our solution in response to challenge number 2. So our intervention is called seasonal snippets, and it is a way for us to anchor the reporting process to existing temporal milestones, specifically of the farming season. So by using something like we're trying to distribute the effort across summer, autumn, winter and spring. And by doing so, we're reducing the complexity or the perception of complexity in regards to that reporting process. So we decided, yes, we know that we are trying to get more people to voluntarily share their emissions data, but we thought we'd start off by taking a step back to understand why. So that led us to really identify that Australian grape and wine is seeking to reduce emissions, both Scope 1 and Scope 2, to net zero by 2035. But we don't actually know about the progress being made in terms of these targets because of the lack of a representative sample. So really, what we are trying to do is to obtain that critical mass of people reporting voluntarily their emissions data. So we drew upon our expertise in both behavioural economics and social marketing in order to really identify the variations in human behaviour in regards to the barriers and motivations for that voluntary sharing process. So we thought we would start off by conducting, we did a bit of a mixed methods approach. So we started off by developing a survey. And that was really informed by something called the Holbrook's customer value typology, which identifies variations in motivation as being either based on an extrinsic or intrinsic motivation, or in terms of an orientation in regards to the self or others. From here, we also used a variety of behavioural economics theories and practice as well, like the EAST framework. So we did actually run that survey for a period of 1 week and collected a variety of responses, which we're more than happy to chat through. But it actually led us to develop 4 quite distinct personas and some quite interesting data as a result.
Yes. So we ran a factor analysis on the values in our surveys, and aligned with the panel yesterday, we found that the major segment of responses, they had 2 main values. This was function, so they really want their business to succeed, but interestingly, it was also altruism. So they really want to play their part in the long-term sustainability of the wine industry. So they have quite conflicted. On the one hand, they really want their business to succeed, but on the other hand, they also really see the value in their emissions data. So the main barrier for these people is simply they do not have the time. Therefore, in order to motivate them to do their emissions data, what we need to do is we need to make this process quick and easy. The bottom liner, on the other hand, it's all about intrinsic. They're more intrinsically motivated. So if they do not see value in the process, they are not going to do it. Therefore, in order to motivate them, what we need to do is we need to create value and then make this value very salient and clear. Then we have the skeptic. So the skeptic is one of the more harder personas to convince. So the skeptic can be quite cynical. So they might be a climate change denialist. They certainly are a bit more apprehensive when it comes to sharing their data. They do not have that trust in institutions. And so therefore, in order to motivate them, what we need to do is we need to give them something else to care about. We need to get them to submit their emissions data through a different way that's not directly in conflict with their own values. And as you can see, all of these are comments from the actual survey. So yes, someone did put that in the survey responses. And then lastly, we have the old school. So the old school people, they are not businessmen, they are people of the land. They are, and their issue issue is they might not have the technical skills required to complete the process. Therefore, what we need to do for them is to make sure that the process aligns with their existing knowledge. And they're also quite stuck in their ways, which means that they might have some confirmation bias as well. So it became clear through these personas that there are 2 key issues, which means we really need to take this 2-pronged approach. So what we have is the bottom liner and the skeptic. They do not see value in the current process. So we need to create this value more salient. And then whereas the conflicted and the old school, they do see value in this process. But the issue is the process is too complex and confusing. Therefore, we just need to make it quicker and easier.
So these insights brought us to our solution, seasonal snippets. But what does that actually mean? Well, what we're proposing is to break up that reporting process to align with the farming seasons that you and the wine industry as a whole are already familiar with. This will reduce both that perception and actually the real-time commitment involved in the process by allowing them to report in snippets throughout the year rather than in one big bulk at the end. It'll also give them that personal sense of satisfaction and personal wins each time they submit their data and give them that motivation to continue reporting their data with each season. So what does this actually look like? What we're suggesting is to introduce an additional page to the existing website with a platform specifically dedicated to that voluntary data reporting. And this platform has been designed with very specific features in mind that are specifically designed to drive that motivation to report. And that actually starts on the very first page. Customers are given the autonomy to decide whether they want to share their details and register, or just continue as a guest. And this will particularly speak to those that lack that trust or have a higher concern about data privacy. They'll also have the opportunity to get a bit of a realistic idea of the time and effort involved before they start. So what happens next is they'll be asked to specify which sector of the wine industry they're involved in, which will allow for further personalisation in the following section. This will allow us to ensure that all irrelevant questions are filtered out, reducing that cognitive overload and also that time commitment in completing the survey. Then we get to the actual data entry phase. Now, the core feature that we propose in this section is to really reduce the number and also complexity of the questions included. And this can sort of be done by condensing down that initial carbon calculator that already exists into really just those key metrics that we really need to just get a base understanding of how the industry is tracking in terms of carbon emissions. While we do acknowledge that this is may limit the accuracy of the data, we're really focusing on this stage at just triggering that behaviour change, because without that, you won't ever be able to make a step towards gaining that critical mass. Finally, the last component of this survey is where you get a little bit of that added value. The customer has the opportunity to have a voice to actually contribute to the industry itself, not just through reporting their emissions, but also through providing feedback to Wine Australia or providing insights on their own sustainability and things that have worked or not, and also just maybe even asking questions or seeking advice.
Great. So we've heard a bit about the front end, but honestly, I'm more interested about what happens after they submit the data. So, look, the first thing that happens, you get this call to action. It's a timely prompt aligned to the seasons, and this really plays into those old schools and the conflicted, right? It gives them the prompt to go in and do it. It also gives you a bit of a checklist about what you need and where to find the information. Along with this, we also give some expert insights. This is talking about climate risks for the season ahead and potential solutions that you could implement yourself so that you're more prepared for this season ahead. Along with that, we also play with this social influence and bring a bit of a human touch to it with our sustainability spotlight. It's giving a bit of a platform to these high performers in the sustainability space to share their learnings with the industry, and also gives them that recognition, right? This, a bit of a reminder here, our snippers are prospective clients or customers and suppliers. So giving them that platform is quite salient value for those more concerned around the bottom line or so on, and creating a sense of solution. So obviously there's challenges with anything. We realise this, particularly access to the internet and technology, things like that. So we can use different mediums. That open feedback gives you that broader conceptualisation of sustainability where they can actually voice their concerns about what they're concerned in around social isolation, like in COVID-19.
Sustainable Snippets is more than just a data reporting platform. Thank you.